Welcome to the Bible Lab video for Daniel. We'll be going over Daniel 12, 8 through 13. This is the very last 5 verses in the book of Daniel. The first 6 chapters, so chapter 1 through 6 are all stories about Daniel and friends. And chapters 7 through 12 are all the visions that Daniel has. So the last 5 verses are part of visions that Daniel has in chapters 10 through 12. They're confusing and they're odd and they aren't things that I understand perfectly. There are people much smarter than me who have been going through them for a long time and have varying views. So I want to show you this set of verses because of the encouragement that I receive from it. Let's start together in verse 8. Daniel is finished listening and having this vision, and he's talking to the angel who's been explaining his visions to him. So Daniel sees part of the vision and then says, "I heard, but I did not understand. Then I said, 'Oh my Lord, what shall come of these things?'" Did you catch that? Daniel says, "I heard, but I did not understand." How often I felt that way when God gives me some new piece of information, or I'm looking at the world and what I thought would happen, and I say, "My Lord, what shall happen, and what shall be the outcome of these things?" And he, being the angel or messenger, said, Go your way, Daniel. For the words are shut up and sealed until the end of the time. This is repeating language from chapter 11, that Daniel should write everything down and then shut it up and seal it until the end of time. The angel continues saying, "Many shall purify themselves and make themselves white and be refined. But the wicked shall act wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but those who are wise shall understand." And from the time that the regular burnt offering is taken away and the abomination that makes desolate is set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he who waits and arrives at the 1,335 days. But go your way till the end, and you shall rest and shall stand in your allotted place at the end of days. My deepest encouragement is that Daniel says, "I heard but did not understand." And the angel's response is, "Go on your way." And he describes a little bit of what that looks like. So as we go on our way, people will make themselves white and refined, and that the wise are the ones who will understand. So what does it mean to be wise? I think of Psalm 110:10 that says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. To have more information on wisdom, I would suggest looking into Proverbs, chapters 4, 8, and 9, because that's where wisdom is personified. And specifically, Proverbs 9, 7 through 12 is the final look at the difference between those who have folly and are foolish and those who go the way of wisdom. So then in the middle there, verses 11 and 12, I wish I understood. I don't. I'm the same as Daniel. But we see here in verse 13, the angel says, "But go on your way for a second time." And that makes me think, what is Daniel's way? Based on what we've seen in chapters 1 through 6, where it's the stories of Daniel, we see him being faithful to God and to what he's called Daniel to do and to be. So there are stories of that in chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 6, really specifically. Chapter 1 is where Daniel chooses to do a fast to not look like the Babylonians. Chapter 2 is where he begins to interpret visions for Nebuchadnezzar. And chapter 6 is where he refuses to worship the king and is tossed into the lion's den. So we see that his way is God's way. He follows the law the way that Psalm 119 encourages. In the first 8 verses, Psalm 119 says that blessed are those whose way is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord. It says that those who do this will not be put to shame. And that language in particular makes me think of Paul speaking to the Romans, who reminds them that they are able to rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. He says to them in chapter 5, verse 3, "Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us." And through that Holy Spirit, we can continue to have hope as we fulfill God's law. So we can be like Daniel, which means that going on our way, even when we don't understand, when I don't understand, I can have faith in God and hope, because He knows what is shut up and what is sealed until the end of time.